Hi everyone. We were talking about the Damaso not too long ago from 1980 that was bottled in 1998, or at least put away into a foodrer in 98 and bottled by Velier in 2002. I do have some older ones in my collection though, and although again I've written about this particular rum before, I really wanted to do a video of this to bring this back up into the modern world for those who couldn't be bothered to go back into 1,000+ reviews and read the damn thing. And this is the Berry Brothers and Rudd Jamaica 1977 36-year-old at 60.3%. I don't even want to tell you how much this thing cost. I bought this about 10-12 years ago, perhaps more, and at the time I had some funds and I was able to get it, but it's unconscionably expensive, and I have to mention that right off the bat before anybody goes out and tries to buy it. Now, Berry Brothers and Rudd is that spirits emporium that has existed since I think it was the 17th century in London, and it is very famous for the whiskies that it does. Of course, it's a whiskey emporium more than anything else, but they have existed down in the same premises to this very day, and there have been some fortunate few people as they pass through London who go to their premises and try their stuff or look in their cellars and get their rums or their whiskies or whatever it is that they do. The thing is, though, they do have some very impressive rums, and one of them was the 1975 rum that I reviewed both in video and in written form about a year ago, I think it was, which was really quite spectacular. That was a Port Morant. This one is from 1977, and it was made in Jamaica, and here's the thing, nobody knows which distillery made it. I did initiate a lot of inquiries over the years, and the consensus of opinion, especially by the Danes, who also issued what's called the Ping 9, which was also from 1977, is a long bond. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to take that as a given, because nothing I've ever heard in all the years between then and now suggests that it is not a long bond, and the profile is reasonably similar to that. The problem is, of course, it's just too bloody pricey. There isn't much left of this thing, but this is mine, and I share it to everybody who really expresses an interest in very old rums. So what do they call this? They call this 1977 Jamaican rum Overproof. There are 220 bottles. This is number 44, and quite frankly, I think this is one of the best rums of its kind that I have ever had. Now, you have to understand that this predated Hampton and Worthy Park's current iteration of all these high-ester rums that have all these great funky notes and everything else. And that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But there was a time when that was not the norm. That was not what people looked after. They looked after great blending jobs. They wanted to see a rum that was almost like an Appleton, perhaps. Of course, even then, they were the big guns floating around the place, right? So at 36 years, so this was done in, 1977, so 23 years plus 30, so 2013. So around 2013, 2014, this came out, and it cost about £500. Yeah, don't even go there. Look at that, huh? It's golden to a fault. It is absolutely beautiful to look at, and when you smell it, whoa. There is an aroma to this that is very rare to find these days. At 36 years of aging, which is probably all continental as far as I'm concerned, right? It's slow, it's patient, it's elegant. That is one of the advantages of long continental aging, that even though there is a current movement towards aging in the tropics, in the place of manufacture, and I don't argue with that at all. I think that's a great thing. The thing is, after about 20 years, you start, unless you have really good barrel control or climate control, the wood is going to start to take over. That's not the case here, not in the slightest. It is pungent, it is very deep, it's got a little bit of burnt rubber, it's got a little bit of asphalt on the road. It's almost like a low-rent Coroni in a way, right? There is a lot of dark fruits in here, which is completely unavoidable. So it's plums, blackberries, peaches, very ripe peaches, a little bit of pineapple, not too much acid in this at all. Again, this is more like the Appleton 30-year-old or something like that, but better. And then you have a little bit of raspberries, you have some very black cherries, a little bit of dates, nougat, nuts, leather, smoke. There is no herbaceousness here at all. There's no real acidity of citrus fruits. It really doesn't have that kind of profile at all. No, but there is something rotten in the state of Jamaica, if you really think about it that way. And I really quite like that slight rotten funkiness to it, even though it's very, very mild. You really have to kind of concentrate to get that. But the thing is, just like the Damoiseau was, at 60.3%, the bloody thing is absolutely smooth as a sheet of velvet. It has a sort of firmness that presses on the tongue like an old anvil, and you just get flavor note after flavor note after flavor note. Leather, smoke, vanilla, of course you can't get away from that, a little bit of nutmeg, a nice dusting of cinnamon. Those are the initial notes that you can get right off the bat. Then there's the cherries, there's nougat, there's nuts, crushed walnuts again. There's lychees, a little bit more of the not quite so salt, quite so sweet fruit. So perhaps dates, something to that effect. Plums and peaches, of course, but quite mild in point of fact. There's even some guava in there in some points. And there's a little bit of sawdust and cardboard and paper, old paper in some old house that has been abandoned for far too long, peeling wallpaper, that kind of thing, a little bit of dust. I argue that those aren't disqualifiers. They simply add a little bit extra to what you're already getting, and that by itself is really quite amazing. The finish just lasts forever, and it gives you pretty much a nice summation of everything that you've had before. A little bit of paper, a little bit of cardboard, a little bit of fruits, a little bit of the leather and vanilla and spices and smoke and so on. But the thing is, again, it's not a rum that we see very often. Berry Brothers and Rudd have made other rums with this bottle and this kind of label. I think there was the 1982 33-year-old that they did, and they have done some others since that time. And this one has almost disappeared from view. You really don't find this very often anymore. I can't remember the last time I saw this on an auction. I haven't checked, but I really don't know if it's still available on websites anywhere, specialty shops or antique shops or rum auctioneer or whatever. I haven't seen it for a while, but I think that given its initial price, it can only have gone up since then, and who's going to pay that kind of money in this day and age for something that admittedly is this old, but at the same time is problematic in that, we're living through some hard times right now, and who wants to pay that kind of money for a rum like this unless they're giving it as a gift? And I'm not an investor, thank God, so I can afford to open my bottle and share it with everybody, and it's been done that way, which is why there's so little of it left. The bottom line, though, is that this is a 1992 point rum as well, just like the Damoiseau was, and it works really well. It noses phenomenally nicely. There's nothing that would tell anybody to stay away from it. The taste is absolutely brilliant, and I think it is, again, one of the better Jamaicans from the ages past. I'm not knocking Hampton or Worthy Park or the current iterations of Clarendon and Monymusk or whatever else is out there that comes from Jamaica. Not in the slightest. No, those are good rums for other reasons. But we don't see rums that are 36 years old very often. And when we do, we have to ask ourselves seriously whether we want to get it or not. In my case, at the time when this came out, I did. I don't regret the purchase one second. And I think if you were ever to try and get a taste of my bottle, what's left of it, or whatever you managed to buy or sample out from somebody else who's willing to part with it, I think you'll agree too. That's it for today on this review, and I hope you enjoyed this, and we will be back again soon. Take care, everybody.